Did you know that La Niña events can reshape weather patterns across the entire globe, affecting millions of lives in ways you might never expect? From fierce storms to intense droughts, this natural climate phenomenon holds enormous power over our planet's future. Understanding La Niña isn't just about weather forecasts, it's about unlocking the secrets of Earth's climate engine. When La Niña strikes, the world doesn't just change, it transforms. What is La Niña and how does it form? Have you ever noticed how the weather sometimes seems to have a mind of its own? Unexpected storms, unusual droughts, or shifts in temperature that don't quite add up? That's often the Earth's way of reacting to a powerful climate pattern called La Niña. La Niña is essentially the cool sibling of El Niño, both part of a climate phenomenon known as the El Niño Southern Oscillation, or ENSO. It happens when the surface waters in the central and eastern Pacific Ocean become cooler than usual for several months. This cooling is caused by stronger than normal trade winds pushing warm surface water westward, allowing cold water from the deep ocean to rise up near the coast of South America. This shift in ocean temperature doesn't just stay put, it sends ripples through the atmosphere, changing weather patterns across the globe. La Niña events typically last from 9 months to 2 years and can repeat every 2 to 7 years. Because the oceans and atmosphere are so tightly connected, these changes in the Pacific can influence rainfall, temperature, and storm activity thousands of miles away. Understanding La Niña is like unlocking a key to predicting some of the most extreme weather events on Earth. Impact on global weather patterns. La Niña doesn't just mess with the weather locally, it rewires the planet's entire atmospheric system. When the Pacific Ocean cools down during La Niña, it shifts the jet streams. Those fast-moving air currents high in the atmosphere that steer storms and weather systems. This shift can cause some regions to experience colder, wetter winters, while others might face hotter, drier conditions. For example, during a La Niña event, the northern United States and Canada often get colder winters with more snow, while the southern United States tends to be warmer and drier. Across the globe, countries in Southeast Asia and Australia usually see heavier rainfall, sometimes leading to floods, while parts of South America like Peru often experience drought. These changes happen because La Niña alters the balance of heat and moisture in the atmosphere, changing how air moves around the planet. The result? A domino effect of weather changes that can disrupt agriculture, water supplies, and even energy demand. The global reach of La Niña is a reminder that what happens in one part of the world's oceans can have far-reaching consequences for millions of people everywhere. Effects on rainfall and droughts. When La Niña kicks in, it's like the planet's weather gets a major remix. Some places get drenched, while others barely see a drop of rain. This isn't random, it's all about how La Niña shifts moisture around the globe. In regions like Southeast Asia and Northern Australia, La Niña often brings heavy rains and flooding. These downpours can replenish water supplies and boost crops, but also cause serious damage when rivers overflow and landslides occur. Meanwhile, places like the southwestern United States and parts of South America often face the opposite drought. The lack of rain can stress farmers, dry up reservoirs, and increase wildfire risks. This push and pull of wet and dry conditions happens because La Niña changes wind patterns and ocean temperatures, which in turn influence where clouds form and where storms track. The result? Some communities might celebrate a season of abundant rain, while others brace for water shortages. Understanding these patterns helps governments and farmers prepare better, but the unpredictability still keeps everyone on their toes. Influence on hurricanes and tropical storms. La Niña doesn't just affect rain and drought, it also turbocharges hurricane activity, especially in the Atlantic Ocean. During La Niña years, the Atlantic tends to see more hurricanes and tropical storms, sometimes with greater intensity. Why? Because La Niña cools the surface waters of the eastern and central Pacific, which reduces wind shear over the Atlantic. Wind shear is like nature's way of breaking up storms before they get too strong. With less of it, hurricanes can grow bigger and last longer. This means coastal areas in the United States, the Caribbean, and parts of Central America face a higher risk of powerful storms. Meanwhile, the Pacific often experiences fewer hurricanes during La Niña, as the cooler waters and stronger winds suppress storm formation there. This seesaw effect between ocean basins shows just how interconnected Earth's climate system is. For communities in hurricane-prone areas, La Niña years are a time to be extra vigilant, prepare emergency plans, and stay informed because honestly, the stakes are higher when the storms come knocking more often. Impact on agriculture and food security. When La Niña arrives, it's like the Earth's thermostat and watering system get out of sync, and farmers around the world feel the impact firsthand. Crops depend heavily on predictable weather. Too much rain can drown plants, while too little can starve them of water. La Niña's shifts in rainfall and temperature can cause both extremes depending on where you are. For example, in places like Australia and Southeast Asia, heavier rains can boost rice and sugarcane yields, but flooding can also ruin fields and delay planting. Meanwhile, drought-stricken areas like parts of South America and the southern United States might see their corn, soybean, and wheat harvests shrink. These disruptions ripple through the food supply chain, pushing prices up and threatening food security for vulnerable populations. Farmers must adapt quickly, sometimes changing planting schedules or switching crops. La Niña's unpredictable nature means that communities reliant on agriculture often face uncertainty, making it harder to plan for the future. The stakes are high because food isn't just about crops, it's about livelihoods, economies, and survival. Effects on marine life and fisheries. La Niña's chill in the Pacific Ocean doesn't just affect the weather, it sends shockwaves through marine ecosystems too. Cooler surface waters and stronger ocean currents during La Niña change, where nutrients rise from the deep, creating feeding hotspots for fish and other sea life. This can be great news for fisheries in some regions, boosting fish populations and catches. For example, the cold, nutrient-rich waters off the coast of South America often support thriving fisheries during La Niña years, but it's not all positive. The altered ocean conditions can disrupt breeding cycles and migration patterns for many marine species. Some fish may move to cooler waters, forcing fishermen to travel farther or adapt to different species. Coral reefs, sensitive to temperature changes, can also be stressed, affecting the entire marine food web. These shifts impact not only ecosystems, but also the millions of people worldwide who depend on fishing for food and income. La Niña reminds us that the ocean and atmosphere are deeply connected, and changes in one ripple through the other in surprising ways. Long-term climate and environmental consequences. La Niña isn't just a short-term weather event, it's a powerful player in the long game of Earth's climate. When La Niña events happen repeatedly over years or decades, they can leave lasting marks on ecosystems, weather patterns, and even human societies. These cycles influence drought frequency, wildfire risks, and the health of forests and wetlands. For example, extended La Niña periods can dry out some regions, making wildfires more likely and stressing plants and animals that rely on steady rainfall. Meanwhile, other areas might see repeated flooding that reshapes landscapes and disrupts communities. On a larger scale, La Niña interacts with global warming, sometimes masking or amplifying temperature trends. This makes predicting future climate conditions even more challenging. For people, these long-term shifts mean adapting how we manage water, agriculture, and disaster preparedness. Scientists study La Niña closely because understanding its patterns helps us prepare for a future where extreme weather might become the norm. It's a reminder that Earth's climate is a complex system, where ocean and atmosphere dance together, shaping life in ways we're still discovering. Thanks for joining us on Space Facts today. If you found this deep dive into La Niña fascinating, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell icon so you never miss an update on the amazing forces shaping our planet and beyond. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and tell us how La Niña has affected your area or what topic you want us to explore next. Stay curious, and we'll see you in the next video. Did you know that Voyager 1 is currently traveling at 38,000 miles per hour through interstellar space? Yet it would still take over 73,000 years to reach the nearest star? This incredible spacecraft has been humanity's most distant messenger for decades, sending back data from the edge of our solar system, where no human-made object has ever ventured before. But here's the mind-blowing part. It just detected something moving out there that's completely rewriting the rules of space exploration. Do you know what could possibly be lurking in the cosmic void that caught Voyager's attention? The mysterious detection. What if I told you that humanity's most distant messenger just stumbled upon something that's rewriting the rules of space exploration? Voyager's instruments suddenly lit up like a Christmas tree when they detected an anomalous signal showing something in motion far beyond our solar system's boundaries. This wasn't your typical space rock drifting aimlessly through the void. The object wasn't following any predictable orbital pattern that planets are known for. and its movement seemed almost deliberately erratic. Scientists initially dismissed it as a potential glitch in the decades-old equipment, but when multiple readings kept confirming the same impossible data, they realized something extraordinary was actually out there. The object appeared to be moving in ways that completely defied conventional astronomical expectations, accelerating and decelerating at seemingly random intervals, as if it possessed some form of intelligence or control system. What made this discovery even more mind-bending was that the movement patterns were so unusual that astronomers had to throw out their existing tracking models and create entirely new ones just to follow its trajectory through the cosmic darkness. The readings suggested this mysterious entity was operating under principles that our current understanding of physics couldn't easily explain, leaving the scientific community both thrilled and deeply unsettled by the implications of what Voyager had accidentally discovered in the furthest reaches of known space. Beyond planetary motion. You know what separates a wandering space rock from something that might actually be intelligent? The way it moves? This wasn't your typical celestial body behavior that astronomers study in textbooks. We're talking about something that completely broke the fundamental rules of how objects are supposed to move through space. While planets follow those predictable elliptical orbits around stars that we've mapped for centuries, this mysterious object was dancing to its own cosmic rhythm, moving in patterns that seemed to mock our understanding of orbital mechanics. The really spine-chilling part? It appeared to accelerate and decelerate at what seemed like random intervals, almost as if something was making conscious decisions about where to go next. Scientists watching the data streams felt like they were observing a chess player making calculated moves, rather than a lifeless chunk of matter drifting through the void. The movement patterns were so fundamentally different from anything in our astronomical databases that researchers had to abandon decades of established tracking protocols and develop completely new mathematical models just to predict where this thing might go next. What kept everyone awake at night was the unsettling realization that this object seemed to possess some form of propulsion or guidance system that operated independently of any known gravitational influences, suggesting either revolutionary physics at work or something far more extraordinary than anyone was prepared to admit publicly. Instrument readings gone wild. When a machine built in the 1970s starts detecting signals that don't exist in any modern database, you know something's seriously wrong. Voyager's magnetometer and plasma wave instruments began registering readings that sent shock waves through mission control, displaying data patterns that didn't match a single entry in their comprehensive astronomical databases. The object appeared to be generating its own electromagnetic field, which is incredibly rare for natural space objects and typically only seen in active stars or massive planetary bodies with molten cores. Even more bizarre, the readings suggested this mysterious entity might be rotating or tumbling in a highly complex pattern that created interference signatures unlike anything scientists had previously encountered from asteroids, comets, or typical space debris. The electromagnetic emissions were so unusual that they seemed to pulse in rhythmic intervals, almost like a heartbeat echoing through the vacuum of space. What made the situation even more unsettling was that these readings were coming from instruments that had been functioning flawlessly for decades, suddenly encountering phenomena that their creators never anticipated when designing the detection systems back on Earth. The data streams showed energy signatures that fluctuated in ways that suggested either some form of internal power source or an interaction with unknown cosmic forces that current physics couldn't adequately explain. Mission scientists found themselves staring at computer screens, displaying information that challenged everything they thought they knew about how objects behave in the cold emptiness of interstellar space, leaving them questioning whether they were witnessing a natural phenomenon or something far more extraordinary. The rogue object theory. So, what happens when scientists discover something that's, too small to be a planet but way too active to be just dead rock? Well, at first scientists thought maybe this could be a rogue planet, one of those lonely worlds that gets ejected from its original solar system and ends up wandering through the infinite darkness of interstellar space, sort of like a cosmic exile. These planetary outcasts are known to drift aimlessly through the void after getting gravitationally kicked out of their home systems by larger planets or big stellar events. But the size readings from Voyager's instruments just didn't match up with what you'd expect from a typical rogue planet. And even more puzzling, Rogue planets don't usually move with such unpredictable and honestly almost purposeful patterns. They tend to follow predictable trajectories influenced by the gravitational pull of nearby massive objects. But this mysterious entity seemed too small to qualify as a planet, yet it was far too large and energetically active to be classified as your typical space debris or asteroid material floating through the cosmic wasteland. What really threw researchers off was the object's apparent ability to change direction and speed without any obvious external gravitational influences acting on it. That kind of behavior totally contradicted everything scientists thought they knew about how rogue planets should behave out in the emptiness between star systems. The data pointed to something that existed in this strange middle ground between planetary and non-planetary classifications, leaving the scientific community with, well, way more questions than answers about its true nature and origin. This discovery really forced astronomers to rethink their basic understanding of what makes a planetary body, and whether there might be entirely new categories of cosmic objects drifting through space that just don't fit into our current classification systems. Artificial origin speculation. The moment scientists started whispering about artificial intelligence in deep space, well, everything changed. Here's where the discovery really took a turn, and made even the most skeptical researchers pause and rethink everything they thought they knew about our cosmic neighborhood. Some scientists began seriously wondering if this mysterious object could actually be artificial in origin, a possibility that sent ripples of both excitement and, honestly, a bit of terror through the astronomical community. The object's highly unusual movement patterns, those distinctive electromagnetic signatures, and its apparent ability to change direction without any obvious external forces, led to these hushed conversations about possible extraterrestrial technology drifting out there in the void. Now, while most established researchers stayed publicly skeptical and didn't want to jump to such extraordinary conclusions, the data piling up was compelling enough that even the most conservative astronomers couldn't completely dismiss the possibility of an artificial probe or spacecraft from another civilization. What made this theory so unsettling was that the object seemed to actually show behaviors that matched up with some kind of guidance system or onboard intelligence, responding to unknown stimuli in ways that natural space objects just don't. The electromagnetic pulses appeared almost like communication attempts or maybe diagnostic signals, suggesting internal systems that could be actively monitoring or scanning the surrounding space environment. All this speculation opened up some mind-bending questions about whether humanity had just stumbled across evidence of advanced alien technology, possibly an automated probe sent by a distant civilization to explore our neck of the galaxy. That would fundamentally challenge our understanding of whether we're truly alone in the universe, and what other intelligences might be silently watching us from the darkness of space. Comet or something else? So, when something behaves like a comet but breaks just about every rule about how comets are supposed to work, you've really got a cosmic mystery on your hands. The next theory that popped up from all the scientific chaos focused on whether this enigmatic object could some kind of unusual comet with a highly irregular orbit. But even this seemingly logical explanation started to fall apart under closer scrutiny. Comets are notorious for their unpredictable behavior, especially when they interact with solar winds and the gravitational fields from massive celestial bodies. That's what creates those spectacular tails and erratic flight paths that can confuse even the most experienced astronomers. However, this mysterious object was positioned way too far from any star to show the typical comet behavior that scientists have documented for centuries. It was operating in the cold vacuum of interstellar space, where solar radiation really shouldn't have much impact on its structure or movement patterns. What made the comet theory even more unlikely was that the object's movement seemed totally independent of any detectable gravitational influence from nearby stellar bodies. That kind of thing suggests it had some form of internal propulsion system, rather than just relying on external cosmic forces. Traditional comets follow predictable physics when they get close to heat sources, developing those characteristic tails and accelerating in ways that match established mathematical models. But this object just didn't fit those expectations at all. The electromagnetic readings and those weird directional changes happened without any connection to solar activity or gravitational wells, which indicated that whatever this thing was, it operated under principles that had nothing to do with the usual ice and rock composition that defines comets. That left researchers seriously wondering if they were dealing with something that was just pretending to be a familiar cosmic phenomenon. Interstellar visitor analysis. Sometimes, the most terrifying discoveries are the ones that remind us we're not alone in this cosmic neighborhood. Data analysis revealed this object might be an interstellar visitor, something that originated outside our solar system and was just passing through our cosmic backyard like an uninvited guest. Similar to Oumuamua, the mysterious cigar-shaped object that briefly visited us back in 2017 and left scientists scrambling for explanations, this new detection showed unmistakable characteristics of something that definitely didn't belong to our familiar solar system family. However, unlike Oumuamua, which seemed to drift through space following predictable physics, this object appeared to be actively maneuvering rather than just coasting on momentum from its original trajectory. The spectral analysis suggested it carried chemical signatures completely foreign to anything found in our local planetary formation, indicating it had traveled unimaginable distances through the void between star systems before somehow ending up in Voyager's detection range. What made this discovery particularly spine-chilling was the realization that if this was indeed an interstellar traveler, it meant our solar system was being visited by objects from distant cosmic regions, with potentially different physical laws or evolutionary histories. The object's ability to maintain apparent control over its movement after what must have been millions of years of interstellar travel suggested either incredibly advanced preservation technology or something that, honestly, challenged our understanding of how matter behaves across vast cosmic distances. This raised unsettling questions about what other mysterious visitors might be silently passing through our solar system without our knowledge, observing us from the darkness. Scientific community divided. Nothing splits the scientific world faster than a discovery that challenges everything we thought we knew about reality. The discovery created a massive rift that split the scientific community into warring factions, each defending their interpretation of the data with the passion of religious zealots. Conservative astronomers dug in their heels, insisting this must be a natural phenomenon they simply hadn't encountered before, arguing that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence and that jumping to wild conclusions would damage their professional credibility. Meanwhile, a growing faction of researchers argued that the mounting evidence pointed to something far more extraordinary than conventional wisdom could accept, suggesting that clinging to outdated assumptions was preventing genuine scientific progress. Peer review processes transformed into heated battlegrounds where respected colleagues found themselves shouting across conference rooms, with researchers demanding more comprehensive data before making any definitive conclusions about the object's true nature and origin. The tension became so intense that some scientists refused to collaborate with colleagues who held opposing views, creating an unprecedented schism in a field that typically thrives on cooperative research and shared discoveries. What made this division particularly bitter was that both sides were working with the same limited dataset from Voyager's aging instruments, yet reaching completely different conclusions about what they were observing in the depths of space. The controversy exposed deep philosophical differences about how science should approach unexplained phenomena, with traditionalists advocating caution, while progressives pushed for bold new theories that could revolutionize our understanding of the cosmos and humanity's place within it. Technology limitations. When your most advanced space probe is running on technology older than most smartphones, getting answers becomes nearly impossible. Unfortunately, Voyager's aging instruments and vast distance from Earth meant the data was frustratingly limited and sometimes contradictory, like trying to solve a murder mystery with a broken magnifying glass. The spacecraft's communication systems, originally designed in the 1970s using technology that would seem primitive compared to a modern calculator, struggled desperately to transmit detailed information about this unprecedented discovery across the mind-boggling distances of interstellar space. Scientists found themselves in the maddening position of having to work with incomplete datasets that arrived months after being recorded, making it incredibly challenging to determine exactly what Voyager had encountered in the cosmic depths. The probe's instruments were never designed to analyze the type of anomalous readings they were now detecting, forcing researchers to extrapolate conclusions from equipment that was already operating far beyond its intended lifespan and capabilities. Signal degradation across billions of miles meant that crucial details about the object's behavior were lost in transmission, leaving tantalizing gaps in the data that could have provided definitive answers about its nature and origin. What made this situation even more frustrating was that by the time scientists received and analyzed the information, the mysterious object had often moved to a completely different location, making follow-up observations nearly impossible. The technological limitations created a perfect storm of scientific frustration, where humanity's most distant explorer had discovered something potentially revolutionary, but lacked the tools to properly study it. Ongoing mystery. Some mysteries are so profound that they redefine what we thought was possible in the universe. As of now, the object remains one of space exploration's greatest unsolved mysteries, a cosmic riddle that continues to haunt scientists and challenge our fundamental understanding of what exists in the vast emptiness between stars. Voyager continues to track its movement when possible, but the object's unpredictable behavior makes consistent observation feel like trying to photograph a ghost that appears and disappears at will. The enigmatic entity seems to operate under its own mysterious agenda, sometimes vanishing from detection for weeks before reappearing in completely unexpected locations, as if it's deliberately evading our attempts to study it. Future deep space missions are being frantically planned with more advanced instruments specifically designed to investigate similar anomalies, but the reality is that we're still years away from having the technology capable of properly analyzing whatever this thing actually is. For now, we're left in the uncomfortable position of knowing something extraordinary is out there, moving through the cosmic void with apparent intelligence or purpose, while being completely powerless to determine its true nature or intentions. The discovery has fundamentally altered how scientists approach the search for unusual phenomena in space, forcing them to acknowledge that our universe might be far stranger and more populated than we ever dared to imagine. This mysterious object serves as a humbling reminder that despite all our technological advances and scientific achievements, we're still cosmic children stumbling around in the dark, occasionally bumping into things that shouldn't exist according to our current understanding of reality. So what do you think we're dealing with here? A natural phenomenon we've never encountered before, or something that challenges our understanding of what's possible in deep space? The fact that Voyager can still surprise us with discoveries like this just shows how much we still don't know about our universe. Drop a comment below and let me know your theory about this mysterious moving object. I read every single one. If this blew your mind, smash that subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you never miss when Space Facts drops new content. Until next time, keep looking up. Mercury vanishes from our skies for months at a time, then suddenly reappears as a brilliant evening star that ancient civilizations called the messenger of the gods. This tiny world completes an entire orbit around the sun in just 88 days, faster than any other planet in our solar system. But here's what blows my mind. Mercury can appear up to 28 degrees away from the sun during maximum eastern separation, yet most people will never see it once in their entire lifetime. Did you know that Mercury is actually easier to spot than most stars when you know exactly when and where to look? What is eastern separation? You're looking up at the night sky, and there's Mercury. But wait, how is that even possible when everyone says it's impossible to see? That's where eastern separation comes into play, and it's absolutely fascinating. When we talk about eastern separation, we're describing the angular distance between Mercury and the Sun as seen from Earth. Think of it like this. The Sun is your reference point, and Mercury appears to separate or move away from it in the eastern direction of the sky. This separation is measured in degrees, just like how you'd measure angles in geometry class. The maximum eastern separation is when Mercury reaches its greatest angular distance from the Sun while positioned to the east of it. During this time, Mercury becomes visible in the evening sky right after sunset, appearing as a bright star-like object low on the western horizon. This phenomenon happens because Mercury's orbit is inside Earth's orbit, so from our perspective it appears to swing back and forth on either side of the Sun, like a pendulum. Eastern separation specifically means Mercury is trailing behind the Sun in its apparent motion across our sky. The beauty of maximum eastern separation is that it gives us the best opportunity to spot this elusive planet with our naked eyes. Without this separation, Mercury would be lost in the Sun's glare, making observation completely impossible for amateur stargazers. Why Mercury is special. You've probably tried spotting Mercury before and failed miserably, right? Don't worry, you're not alone. Mercury is hands down the most challenging planet to observe, and there's a perfectly good reason why astronomers have been frustrated with this little world for centuries. Mercury sits closest to the Sun in our solar system, which creates a unique problem that no other planet faces. While Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn can appear anywhere in our night sky throughout the year, Mercury is essentially chained to the Sun's vicinity. This proximity means Mercury never strays far from the solar glare that dominates our daytime sky. What makes Mercury truly special is its incredibly fast orbit. It completes one trip around the Sun in just 88 Earth days, which is why the Romans named it after their speedy messenger god. This rapid orbital motion creates a cosmic dance where Mercury alternately appears on the eastern and western sides of the Sun in quick succession. Unlike the outer planets that can be visible all night long, Mercury only gets brief windows of visibility during twilight hours. The planet's small size compounds the challenge. It's barely larger than our moon, making it appear as just a tiny dot even when conditions are perfect. This combination of proximity to the Sun, rapid orbital motion, and small size creates the perfect storm of observational difficulty that has made Mercury the holy grail for amateur astronomers worldwide. Maximum eastern separation defined. You know how Mercury usually hides in the Sun's glare? Well, maximum eastern separation is the exact moment when Mercury says, "Not today," and reaches its greatest possible distance from the Sun as seen from Earth. This isn't just some random astronomical event. It's a precisely calculated phenomenon that occurs when Mercury reaches approximately 18 to 28 degrees of angular separation from the Sun, depending on where Mercury is in its elliptical orbit. During this peak separation, Mercury appears furthest to the east of the Sun in our evening sky, which translates to the best possible viewing conditions you'll get for this elusive planet. The term maximum is crucial here because Mercury's separation from the Sun constantly changes as it orbits, swinging like a cosmic pendulum from maximum eastern separation to maximum western separation and back again. When astronomers say maximum eastern separation, they're pinpointing the exact day and time when this angular distance peaks before Mercury begins its journey back toward the Sun. This moment typically lasts only a few days, making it a fleeting opportunity that serious stargazers mark on their calendars months in advance. The beauty of this definition lies in its precision. It's not just when Mercury is visible, but rather the optimal moment when Mercury achieves its greatest possible visibility in the evening sky. Understanding this technical definition helps you appreciate why timing is everything when hunting for Mercury in the twilight hours. When this occurs. You're probably wondering when you can actually catch Mercury in action. And here's the fascinating part. Mercury's maximum eastern separations follow a predictable rhythm that repeats roughly every 116 days. This means you get approximately 3 opportunities per year to witness this celestial event, though the exact timing shifts slightly each year due to orbital mechanics. The separations don't happen randomly throughout the year. They cluster around specific months, typically occurring in late winter, late spring, and early fall for most observers in the northern hemisphere. What's really cool is that Mercury alternates between eastern and western separations, so if you miss an eastern separation in March, you might catch a western separation in May, then another eastern separation in August. The exact dates vary from year to year, but astronomers can predict these events decades in advance with incredible precision. Each maximum eastern separation event lasts about a week, with the peak occurring on one specific day when Mercury reaches its furthest angular distance from the Sun. However, Mercury remains reasonably visible for several days before and after this peak, giving you a practical viewing window of roughly 10 to 14 days. The timing also depends on your geographic location. Observers at different latitudes will experience slightly different optimal viewing periods. Southern Hemisphere observers get completely different seasonal patterns, with their best eastern separations occurring during opposite months compared to northern observers, making Mercury truly a global phenomenon with local variations. Best viewing conditions. You want to see Mercury? Then you need to become obsessed with timing, location, and atmospheric conditions, because Mercury doesn't forgive amateur mistakes. The absolute best time to hunt for Mercury during maximum eastern separation is during evening twilight, specifically 30 to 45 minutes after sunset, when the sky has darkened enough to reveal faint objects, but isn't completely black yet. This narrow window is non-negotiable because if you wait too long, Mercury will set below the horizon along with the fading twilight. Your viewing location matters enormously. You need an unobstructed western horizon, which means no buildings, trees, or mountains blocking your view in the direction where the sun just set. Urban light pollution can kill your chances, so, if possible, drive to a darker location away from city lights, where the contrast between Mercury and the sky background becomes more pronounced. Weather conditions can make or break your observation session. You need clear skies with minimal atmospheric turbulence, which means avoiding nights with high humidity, haze, or strong winds that cause excessive twinkling. The best atmospheric conditions occur during stable weather patterns, often a day or two after a cold front passes through your area. Seasonal timing also plays a role. Some maximum eastern separations occur when Mercury appears higher above the horizon than others, depending on the angle of the ecliptic relative to your local horizon. Spring separations are typically best for northern hemisphere observers, while fall separations favor southern hemisphere viewers. How to spot Mercury. You need to master the art of systematic sky scanning because Mercury won't announce itself with flashing lights. Start by finding where the sun set on the western horizon. That's your reference point for everything that follows. Mercury will appear somewhere along the ecliptic, which is the imaginary line that the sun, moon, and planets follow across our sky. During maximum eastern separation, look for Mercury roughly 15 to 25 degrees to the left of where the sun disappeared, depending on the specific separation angle. Here's the key trick most people miss. Mercury looks like a bright, steady star that doesn't twinkle as much as real stars do. It typically appears as a yellowish or orange-colored point of light, brighter than most stars but not as brilliant as Venus. The best strategy is to scan systematically from the sunset point leftward along the horizon, looking for any star-like object that seems out of place or brighter than expected. Mercury stays relatively low to the horizon, usually appearing no higher than the width of your fist held at arm's length above the western horizon. Don't expect Mercury to be obvious. It often appears dimmer than you'd anticipate, especially if atmospheric conditions aren't perfect. Use nearby bright stars or planets as reference points to help guide your search. If you spot what you think is Mercury, watch it for several minutes. Planets appear steadier than stars, which tend to twinkle more noticeably. The planet will also set relatively quickly, disappearing below the horizon within an hour or two of sunset. Equipment needed. So you can absolutely spot Mercury during maximum eastern separation with nothing more than your naked eyes. No telescope, no binoculars, no fancy gadgets required. This might, actually surprise you because Mercury has a reputation for being impossible to see, but during optimal separations, it appears bright enough to be visible without any optical aid whatsoever. However, binoculars can be your secret weapon for making the hunt much easier, especially 7x50 or 10x50 models that gather more light and provide a wider field of view. Binoculars really help you scan the twilight sky more efficiently and can reveal Mercury even when atmospheric conditions aren't perfect. They also make Mercury appear noticeably brighter and easier to distinguish from background stars. Now, a telescope isn't necessary for simply spotting Mercury, but if you want to see it as more than just a point of light, even a small telescope will reveal Mercury's phases, kind of like how the moon changes shape throughout its cycle. For photography enthusiasts, a camera with manual settings and a sturdy tripod becomes essential equipment, along with a telephoto lens to capture Mercury's tiny disk against the twilight sky. One piece of equipment that's absolutely crucial, regardless of your approach, is a reliable star chart or astronomy app on your smartphone. These help you know exactly where to look and confirm you're actually seeing Mercury rather than a bright star. And honestly, the most important equipment is actually your patience and persistence, because Mercury observation requires multiple attempts and perfect timing to master successfully. Duration of visibility. You get roughly 10 to 14 days of reasonable viewing opportunities centered around Mercury's maximum eastern separation, but here's the catch. Mercury isn't equally visible throughout this entire period. The peak visibility occurs on the exact day of maximum separation, when Mercury reaches its greatest angular distance from the sun and appears highest above the western horizon during evening twilight. On this optimal night, Mercury might remain visible for up to 90 minutes after sunset under perfect conditions, though typically, you'll have about 60 minutes of good viewing time before it sets below the horizon. As you move away from the peak date, Mercury's visibility window shrinks rapidly. Just 3 days before or after maximum separation, your viewing time might drop to only 30 to 45 minutes after sunset. The viewing window continues to compress as Mercury begins its orbital journey back toward the Sun, eventually becoming impossible to spot as it gets swallowed by solar glare. What makes this timeline tricky is that atmospheric conditions, your geographic location, and seasonal factors all influence how long Mercury remains visible each night. Northern observers during spring separations might enjoy slightly longer viewing windows, while observers at southern latitudes during winter separations face much shorter opportunities. The key insight is that Mercury's visibility follows a bell curve pattern. It gradually becomes easier to spot as maximum separation approaches, peaks for just a few days, then rapidly becomes more challenging until it disappears entirely. This compressed timeline means you can't procrastinate when Mercury becomes visible. Common viewing mistakes. You're probably sabotaging your own Mercury observations without even realizing it, and these mistakes cost countless stargazers their chance to spot this elusive planet. The biggest blunder is looking too early after sunset. Many people start scanning the sky immediately when the sun disappears, but Mercury won't be visible until at least 30 minutes later when twilight deepens enough to provide sufficient contrast. Another fatal error is searching too high in the sky. Mercury during eastern separation stays remarkably low, typically appearing no more than 8 to 21 degrees above the horizon, which is roughly the width of 2 fists held at arm's length. People also make the mistake of expecting Mercury to look like a bright, obvious planet when it actually appears as a modest, star-like point that's easily overlooked if you're not scanning systematically. Timing your observation session wrong kills more attempts than bad weather. Mercury's visibility window shrinks rapidly as you move away from the peak elongation date, yet many observers try weeks before or after maximum separation when Mercury has already become too faint or too close to the Sun. Geographic confusion ruins observations too. Northern Hemisphere observers often attempt to spot Mercury during autumn elongations when the ecliptic angle makes it nearly impossible, while the same elongation would be spectacular from the Southern Hemisphere. Don't confuse Mercury with bright stars or aircraft. Mercury appears steadier than twinkling stars and moves much slower than planes. Finally, the most expensive mistake is giving up after one failed attempt instead of trying multiple nights around the elongation peak. Photography tips. You can absolutely photograph Mercury during maximum eastern separation, but success depends on mastering timing, equipment setup, and post-processing techniques that most amateur photographers overlook completely. The golden rule for Mercury photography is shooting during the optimal twilight window. Start capturing images 30 to 45 minutes after sunset, when the sky has darkened enough to provide contrast, but Mercury hasn't set yet. Your camera setup becomes critical here. Mount your camera on a sturdy tripod with a ball head to eliminate vibrations, and use the longest focal length possible, ideally 200mm to 600mm or more, to make Mercury appear larger than a tiny dot. Manual camera settings work best. Shoot in RAW format, use a relatively small aperture like f8 for sharpness, keep ISO low at 100 to 200, and adjust shutter speed based on your light meter readings. The focusing technique separates successful shots from failures. Turn on live view, zoom in on Mercury digitally, and focus directly on the planet's edge until it appears tack sharp. Use manual white balance starting around 5500 Kelvin and adjust based on the color temperature you're seeing through your viewfinder. Take multiple bracketed exposures since Mercury's brightness can be tricky to nail perfectly on the first shot. Post-processing becomes essential because Mercury often appears too dim and small in the original images. Enhance visibility through careful brightness and contrast adjustments in software like Photoshop. The key insight most photographers miss is that Mercury photography requires patience and multiple attempts across several nights around maximum separation, since atmospheric conditions and timing must align perfectly for success. That's Mercury's maximum eastern separation decoded. You now know exactly when and how to spot the solar system's most elusive planet during its brief evening appearances. Mercury won't wait for you. These viewing windows happen only 3 times per year and last just days. If this cosmic knowledge sparked your curiosity about our incredible universe, smash that subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you never miss another Space Facts revelation. Drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever successfully spotted Mercury, or will this be your first attempt? Until next time, keep looking up and exploring the wonders above us. Just 4.2 light-years away, a planet orbits the closest star to our Sun, Proxima Centauri b. It sits in the habitable zone where temperatures might allow liquid water and maybe life. This isn't science fiction, it's one of our most promising hopes beyond Earth. For centuries we've asked, are we alone? Now a small rocky world near a red dwarf star keeps that question alive. If you could stand there, on alien soil under a dim red sky, would you feel wonder? Or the weight of possibility? Let's dive into the secrets of Proxima Centauri b, and what it could mean for our future. Proximity to Earth. What would it be like to live on another planet? Well, we might not need to venture too far to find a new world, because just over 4 light-years away from us is Proxima Centauri b. That's right, the closest exoplanet that might one day become humanity's potential second home. You might be thinking, 4 light-years, that's pretty far. But let's put it in perspective. If we were to travel to Proxima Centauri by using current technology, it would take us about 70,000 years. That's a seriously long road trip, but on the cosmic scale, it's actually relatively close. Proxima Centauri b orbits around Proxima Centauri, a red dwarf star that's located in the Alpha Centauri star system, the closest star system to our own Sun. While our Sun is a yellow dwarf star, red dwarfs like Proxima Centauri are much smaller and cooler, but they also burn their fuel for far longer. That means Proxima Centauri could keep its planet stable for billions of years, which is exactly what we want for a habitable planet. The proximity of Proxima Centauri b to Earth makes it a fascinating candidate for exploration, and thanks to our growing technological advancements, who knows, maybe one day we'll set foot on this distant world. The thing that makes Proxima Centauri b even more intriguing is that it's within reach compared to other exoplanets, which are often hundreds or even thousands of light-years away. So, while we can't pack our bags and go just yet, this planet offers a real hope for future generations to travel, study, and perhaps even live beyond our own home planet. Isn't that exciting? Location in the habitable zone. The most exciting part of Proxima Centauri b, its location in the habitable zone. You've probably heard this term before. It's often called the Goldilocks zone, and it's where conditions are just right for liquid water to exist on a planet's surface. Not too hot, not too cold. It's the perfect sweet spot for life to thrive. And guess what? Proxima Centauri b sits smack dab in the middle of this habitable zone. Being in the habitable zone is a game changer. It means that just like Earth, Proxima Centauri b could have liquid water on its surface, which is one of the key ingredients for life as we know it. Think about it. Water is essential for all known life forms, from the tiniest microbe to the largest mammals. So the fact that this planet is positioned at just the right distance from its star means it has the potential to harbor conditions that could support life. This is one of the primary reasons scientists are so eager to study Proxima Centauri b. It might not just be a planet, it could be the next big discovery in our search for extraterrestrial life. But it's not just about being in the habitable zone, it's about how Proxima Centauri b's orbit interacts with its star. Unlike Earth, which is in a stable orbit around the Sun, Proxima Centauri b's orbit is likely to be influenced by the intense stellar radiation from its red dwarf star. That's a challenge, and we'll talk more about how that affects its potential for habitability in the next sections. But for now, it's enough to say that being in the habitable zone gives Proxima Centauri b a huge advantage in the search for life beyond Earth. Could it be the place where life is waiting to be discovered? Only time will tell. Earth-like size and composition. So what makes Proxima Centauri b so fascinating? Its size and composition. Unlike the gas giants like Jupiter or Saturn, Proxima Centauri b is a rocky planet, much like Earth. It's about 1.3 times the mass of our home planet, which means it's large enough to have a solid surface but not so big that it would be a gas giant. This is a huge advantage because it means that, theoretically, Proxima Centauri b could have an atmosphere, oceans, and even land masses just like Earth does. Imagine a world that could resemble our own in some ways. It's like having a twin out there in the vast expanse of space. The fact that Proxima Centauri b is a rocky planet opens up so many possibilities. It could have similar geological features like mountains, valleys, and maybe even volcanoes. Its surface might be shaped by tectonic activity, just like on Earth, where the plates beneath our feet shift and create the continents and oceans. And speaking of oceans, Proxima Centauri b's Earth-like size means it could potentially have water in liquid form, which is crucial for life. The idea that a planet in our cosmic neighborhood could have a solid surface and liquid water makes Proxima Centauri b incredibly intriguing to scientists. They're excited to study the composition of the planet's surface, its possible atmosphere, and whether it could support life forms similar to what we have here. If Proxima Centauri b is truly Earth-like, it could also offer a glimpse into the types of conditions that make a planet habitable. The more we learn about it, the better we can understand what's needed for life to thrive on other worlds. The fact that this planet is rocky and roughly the size of Earth only adds to its allure as a potential new home for humanity, or at least a place to search for extraterrestrial life. Potential for liquid water. Let's dive into one of the most exciting aspects of Proxima Centauri b, the potential for liquid water. Water is the key ingredient for life as we know it. And for years, scientists have been on the lookout for planets that might have water in its liquid form on their surface. Proxima Centauri b, situated in the habitable zone of its star, could be one of those rare gems where liquid water could exist. Being in the habitable zone means that Proxima Centauri b is at the right distance from its star, not too close so that water would evaporate, and not too far so that it would freeze. This perfect distance could allow the planet to have water in liquid form on its surface, which is essential for life. Picture vast oceans, rivers and lakes, just like here on Earth. And water doesn't just provide a home for life, it's also a key ingredient for maintaining an environment that could support complex ecosystems. It could even be the thing that makes this planet more Earth-like than we ever imagined. But there's more to this. The possibility of liquid water on Proxima Centauri b also depends on the planet's atmosphere, which we don't fully understand yet. If the planet has a thick atmosphere, it could create the right conditions for water to remain liquid on its surface, even if Proxima Centauri emits strong radiation. Without an atmosphere, the water would quickly evaporate or freeze, making the planet less likely to support life. That's why studying Proxima Centauri b's atmosphere is one of the biggest focuses for scientists. If they can determine that the planet has the right conditions, they'll be one step closer to answering the age-old question, are we alone in the universe? Tidally locked rotation. Let's take a moment to talk about something that makes Proxima Centauri b quite unique, its rotation. Unlike Earth, where day and night give us a rhythmic balance, Proxima Centauri b is likely tidally locked to its star. This means that one side of the planet is always facing the star, while the other side is in eternal darkness. It's a fascinating phenomenon that happens when a planet's orbit around its star syncs up with its rotation in such a way that it always shows the same face to the star. This tidally locked rotation can create some extreme conditions on Proxima Centauri b. On the side that faces its star, temperatures could soar to unimaginable heights, while the dark side would likely be freezing cold. These vast temperature differences would create unique weather patterns, possibly even powerful winds or atmospheric currents that move from the hot side to the cold side in an attempt to balance out the heat. The intense heat on the day side and the icy cold on the night side might make life as we know it challenging, but it also opens up possibilities for life forms to adapt to such extremes. Maybe life on this planet doesn't thrive in the traditional sense, but in some way we can't yet imagine it finds a way to exist. Now, if Proxima Centauri b does indeed have an atmosphere, it could mitigate some of these extreme temperatures, circulating heat between the two sides and perhaps creating a more habitable environment. That said, the tidal locking of the planet could make the atmosphere's stability a major factor in determining whether life could survive here. It's a delicate balance, but one that might lead to the discovery of life forms unlike anything we've ever encountered before. Stellar activity and radiation. There's no denying that Proxima Centauri b is a fascinating exoplanet, but being so close to its star as a red dwarf brings some serious challenges for its habitability. Red dwarfs like Proxima Centauri are known for their stellar activity, which includes strong solar flares and radiation bursts that can be harsh on nearby planets. So, while Proxima Centauri b is in the habitable zone, the question arises, could it withstand the intense radiation from its star? Let's dive into that. Proxima Centauri, unlike our Sun, is much smaller and cooler, but it's also far more active. It regularly emits powerful flares and radiation, which could strip away the atmosphere of a planet in the habitable zone. This radiation could bombard the surface of Proxima Centauri b, making it harder for life to exist, especially if it lacks a strong magnetic field or protective atmosphere. Imagine being in a constant battle against radiation that could fry the surface and potentially evaporate any water that might exist. It's not an easy environment to thrive in. But here's the twist, Proxima Centauri b could still have a fighting chance. If it has a thick atmosphere, much like Earth's, it could protect the surface from harmful radiation. Additionally, some scientists believe that certain life forms could adapt to these conditions, developing protective mechanisms to survive in environments with high radiation levels. After all, life on Earth has found ways to thrive in extreme conditions, from deep-sea vents to radioactive zones. The ability of Proxima Centauri b's atmosphere to withstand its star's harsh radiation will be crucial in determining whether this planet can support life, or if we're looking at a world where only the toughest organisms could survive. Scientific interest and exploration. Proxima Centauri b has certainly captured the imagination of scientists, astronomers, and space enthusiasts alike, but what's next? What are the next steps for exploring this fascinating exoplanet and uncovering its secrets? The truth is, Proxima Centauri b is a top contender in the search for habitable planets and extraterrestrial life. It's a planet that could offer us insights into the possibilities of life beyond Earth, and with the right tools and technology, it might not be as far out of reach as we once thought. So, how do we study a planet that's over 4 light-years away? With the development of advanced telescopes and new technologies, astronomers are able to gather more information about Proxima Centauri b than ever before. One of the most exciting prospects on the horizon is the use of next-generation telescopes, such as the James Webb Space Telescope, which is designed to peer deeper into space and study the atmospheres of distant planets in incredible detail. This could help scientists determine if Proxima Centauri b has an atmosphere, how thick it is, and whether it contains the necessary elements to support life. In addition to the tools we have today, future space missions could take us even closer to understanding Proxima Centauri b. There are discussions within the scientific community about sending probes to explore this distant exoplanet, though it's a massive undertaking that would take decades to accomplish with current propulsion technology. One potential mission could involve the Breakthrough Starshot Initiative, a project aimed at sending small, light-powered probes to nearby stars at a fraction of the speed we're capable of now. These probes could send back data on the planet's surface and atmosphere, dramatically enhancing our understanding of its potential habitability. While we're still in the early stages of exploration, Proxima Centauri b holds the promise of answering some of humanity's biggest questions. Is there life beyond Earth? What does a potentially habitable planet look like up close? By continuing to study this distant world, we not only expand our knowledge of the universe, but also bring ourselves one step closer to understanding our place within it. This pursuit might be the key to discovering a new world for future generations. Thanks for joining me on this journey to explore Proxima Centauri b, one of the most exciting potential habitable worlds beyond our solar system. While we still have many questions about its true nature and whether it can support life, every discovery brings us closer to understanding our place in the cosmos. The universe is vast and full of mysteries just waiting to be uncovered. Stay curious, keep looking up, and remember, space holds endless wonders for those who seek them. And if you love discovering the secret of the universe, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more adventures.